Please hold while I confirm your passcode. Thank you for joining Global Meet. When you hear the tone, you will be the fourth person to join the meeting.
So good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Moving from Programs to Strategies Through Career and Technical Education webinar. My name is Patrick Ahern with RTI, and I'll be helping out with the virtual room this morning. I just want to bring your attention to the chat window in the lower left-hand part of your screen. If you have any technical issues today, please put those in the chat window, and I can help with any troubleshooting that may be necessary.
Please hold while I confirm your passcode. Thank you for joining Global Meet. When you hear the tone, you will be the fifth person to join the meeting.
Sorry about that. Also, if you have any questions for the presenters today, you can put those in the chat window as well, and we will we will stop during the presentation and address any questions you have, and also at the end. So without any further ado, I will turn things over to Michael Britt-Crane. Michael?
Thank you, Patrick. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our latest in our series of innovations in career and technical education. I'm super excited about this webinar. We have a couple of fantastic speakers. As usual, Greg Mitchell and myself will be moderating or just helping facilitate questions. And again, so we will be pulling questions from the chat and bringing those into the conversation throughout the whole presentation and discussion. We've got two excellent speakers who are working together and collaborating in Utah in career and technical education, in secondary and post-secondary, doing some really compelling, innovative stuff. Some of the things that we talk about at the Institute on a regular basis, they are putting into practice. So I'm very excited to get started, and I'll just move forward and introduce Matt Bowman, the founder and CEO of MyTech High, and then get started with the conversation. Turn it over to you, Matt.
All right. Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. We're happy to be here today and share some of the things that we've been working on in this space of education and workforce development and building skills that Americans need to be successful in the future. So as Michael mentioned, I'm Matt Bowman, founder and CEO and a certified teacher. I started working in education about 25 years ago and have been running MyTech High for the past 12 years. And we're excited to also have with us today President Brad Cook from Snow College. He's been in the higher ed executive administration space for over 25 years, and MyTech High and Snow College have formed a great partnership to kind of help streamline the process for students to be successful. So, Brad, you want to say hello?
Good morning, everyone. It's terrific to be with you. It's good to see my colleague and friend Matt. Yeah, this is I come from a very traditional education background, and so you're talking to someone who has come the last few years to the importance of our technical and vocational capacities in this country, and I really do see this as a defense issue. I start to see it that it's an economic problem, an economic issue, especially for a college like ours, which is here in central Utah. A little bit about me: I'm the president of Snow College, but have had a lot of years. This is my second presidency. I was the president of a women's college in Abu Dhabi. So my academic experience has to do with the Middle East politics and philosophy. So you may wonder, what do I really know about technical education and CTE? And I come to this because I'm on the front line, I think, of many communities in our country where there's a disconnect between what higher education is providing and what the economies and local development is needing. And I see this as being a very personal mission now for Snow College. We're a 2-year institution, a junior college, if you will, a comprehensive community college of about 5,000 students. And most of those students are transfer students. But I've only been here about a year, but it was very clear and very evident to me that Snow College is, in a way, missing the mark in offering the types of education in credentialing that is actually needed here for many of our high school graduates and our adults. So I couldn't be more thrilled really to be partnering with Matt, and you'll hear more about our partnership, but we are very, very committed to making the K16 space as seamless as possible on the one hand, and providing and lowering the barriers wherever possible, whenever possible, for our students to get the types of strategic skills that they need to enter the workforce. So I'm excited to talk to you about what we're doing. Some of it is in play now, some of it is in the planning stages, but we're really happy to answer any questions you might have. And happy to learn from you, especially those of you that have probably been in this space a long time.
Awesome. Thanks, President Cook. Glad to have you with us today. So just a quick overview of MyTech High. So as I mentioned, we're in our 12th year now. We're planning on serving over 10,000 students this fall across 5 states. We're in Utah, Idaho, Colorado, Tennessee, and Arkansas, and we actually have a couple of other states, Wyoming and Indiana, onboarding soon, so we're excited about that. We basically contract with innovative districts and charter schools to provide a tuition-free, CTE-focused, personalized education program to students who learn best at home. So traditional homeschoolers and others who really want to customize their child's education and focus it around career and technical education principles. And so we're excited about that. And want to do a quick shout out to many of the families in our program are in the military, and we have a family in the Hill Air Force Base who just loves our program. And another quick story around how it benefits them is, as we all know, education is one of the challenging topics when you talk to a potential military family. Those that have children wonder how the disruption of frequent moves will impact their child's education. We had one story recently where a family in Utah was at Hill Air Force Base. They were in our program. They had a 10th grader who, and then the military personnel got transferred to South Korea, and she told her parents flat out, I'm not going to move if I can't keep doing MyTech High. She loved it. She was working on an early college associate degree at the time, and as it turns out, we were able to get approval for them to continue in the district program in South Korea. And so she happily moved over. All of the children maintained their regular education program. There was no disruption there, and we've heard that story over and over again. And so it's really fun to be able to serve military families in a way that helps give them and their children a consistent, personalized, and accelerated education. President Cook, you want to share a little bit how Snow College is really trying to serve the military audience well?
Yeah. So we now have a platform called the Snow Accelerated Online, and this is where I think some interesting things can happen, especially with military families. Because of this, we were able to offer an associate's degree online for 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. So if you think about whether your military families are moving around or whether they're overseas, or that they can also get a jump on their college education, with this accelerated online modality. That what the difference in what we're offering here, especially for our high school students as it relates to getting college credit, is this is a self-paced program. It's self-paced, it's competency-based. right? So, and they can also take as many credits as they can over a certain period of time to work on their college credit. So whether they're, say, 11th grader, they're entering in their high school curriculum, they're doing their high school curriculum wherever they might be, but they can also start working on their college credit, either get a general education certificate or even an associate's degree if they, and they can do that anywhere, anytime. And I think this is one of the great things is we partner with MyTech High. That's MyTech High's offering, especially to the homeschoolers. But this is the beauty of technology, that no matter where people are, it's not contingent upon a faculty member's schedule. It's not a seat time based program. It's a competency based program, and I think that's going to be so much more portable, convenient for many of our military families that have high school kids.
Excellent. Do you want to also mention briefly the prior learning philosophy of SNO around older military adults and when they, after service, what they can do to earn some additional credits?
Yeah, I think this is one of I think higher education has been very slow at acknowledging that people can bring with them a whole set of life skills that ought to be credited, through a prior learning assessment or something. So, there just is no point in having an adult who might have had, 2, 3, 4 years of experience in a particular area and have them sit through a 15-week course in order to get them credit. If they can demonstrate competency, let's get them credit, right? That may then stack into whatever their educational goal is. And so we welcome military families and working adults to let us take a look at what you have. Many of our families and our working adults bring with them incredible skill sets, whether it's accounting or management or you name it. Let us find a way in which we can give you credit for that so that you can move on and not have to stop there and just go over stuff but that you can then speed along to get to that material that you might need to spend more time on.
Yeah, and for those familiar with higher ed, that's a really innovative train of thought that President Cook has at SNO. So we love that. We think that's really valuable for the future. So good. Well, let's keep going. So just some details of what does a tuition-free, CTE-focused, personalized education program like MyTech High look like? So just a couple of talking points here, and would love to answer any questions anyone has about how our program operates. It's free to families, and so one of the design principles is that we wanted to make this accessible to all. And so to do that, we entered into contracts with public school districts and charter schools, and basically we work with them to bring them students like homeschoolers who were out of the public education system. We bring those to the districts who then begin claiming 100% of the per pupil funding, and then we operate the program lean and mean for only 80% of that amount. So our district partners keep a portion of the new revenues for their on-campus programming, and then we serve the students in a personalized education program for 80% of that. So at a macro level, countrywide, nationally thinking, this is really pushing that innovation of how we can be more efficient with our tax dollars. And so it's a great way to look at it that way. We also are a K to college and K to career program. We have on-campus, online, accelerated degrees for associate degree programs. Around career, we have online coding boot camps, we have composite manufacturing training, we have professional licensures, we have just pretty much everything that a student is interested in. We try to find a way to connect them with the education and the mentor support they need to be successful today and build for the future. So it's pretty exciting around that. We offer personalized core curriculum, and what that looks like is any modality you can think of, we can serve in terms of math, English, history, science, whether it's on campus, online, live instructor-led, self-paced, book-based, whatever the learning style of the student is, we try to match the core curriculum to their needs. We also have a really incredible catalog of project-based CTE electives that I'll show in just another slide, just showing how we are building these skills from ages 5 and up. And as President Cook mentioned, to kind of build this seamless transition from children into young adulthood, into adulthood as they build these skills, and we'll talk about the CTE electives shortly. And yes, whatever state we're in, we map our core curriculum to the state standards and requirements there. Again, this is a public school administered program, so we are fully complying with all state laws and board rules around curriculum mapping and certified teachers that support every family. So it's really a great model for any district in any state that wants to kind of become the homeschool friendly district of that state. This is a great opportunity for them. And as well, the military families would really appreciate any state superintendent or district superintendent embracing programs like this that allow personalization and flexibility no matter where they are. Technology allowance, I want to mention that mainly because it's a key thing around education equity. A lot of people in K-12 are talking about education equity. We provide every student a laptop and cover the cost of their high-speed internet. So we have a lot of low to middle income families in our program who now have access to educational resources and the technology they need to personalize their child's education. And it's not just for wealthy areas. And so we're pretty excited about what we've been able to do, especially around the COVID pandemic. A lot of school districts struggled with how to serve their students at home that didn't have access to internet and computers. And our program just continued to operate really well because we knew every child had the technology at home that they needed and the support with curriculum and teachers that was available to them. So that was pretty exciting. One final point I want to highlight is our vision around home and community-centered education resources. So what's pretty interesting is you meet with families who want to build a personalized education program at home is they embrace the many educational resources that are available in the local community that are outside of a traditional public school setting. These things are like dance classes or karate clubs or art studios or museums and symphonies and zoos. There's so much education available in the community, and we help bridge that for these families to help them tap into the broader education resources around mentors and internships and workforce development opportunities and apprenticeships that many schools just haven't figured out how to do that. So it's fun for us to be able to help bridge families and access to those community resources for our students. Let me pause here for a minute and see, Michael, if there's any kind of questions at this point that we want to address from you or the audience.
Yeah, we've got a few questions. I want to start with a few basic ones. So I think it's pretty evident how the virtual component of MyTech High can work, and it's fantastic if you're able to facilitate access with laptops and high-speed internet for increased equity. And blended learning is really a central tenet of the institutes and their education approach. But we really recognize that the importance of that practical hands-on component of blended learning. And I'm curious how MyTech High is able to deliver that to.
Yeah, great question, Michael. So a couple different answers on that. So actually, I'm going to jump to this slide, and then I'll come back to the story of our presidential scholar this year. One of the things that we found is exactly that, is that the students who like to do their education at home also want access to some of these hands-on experiences that are hard to replicate in a home. So one of the things that we built was a MyTech High makerspace, and built in partnership with the local Discovery Museum and other prototype labs, the ability for students to go once or twice a week to those physical locations and access things like 3D printers and CNC cutters and laser cutters and those types of things. And that's been a really popular ability for them to reach the physical centers. Another thing that we do is that we, as I mentioned, in connection with partnering with community resources, there's a network of technical colleges all over Utah, and most states have them. And part of our program allows for a split enrollment where they can do their online education at home and then go on campus to some of these technical colleges. Davis Tech, for example, is one up in northern Utah that's a national leader in composite manufacturing, and we have many students who go to that facility for that hands-on manufacturing experience. And we're excited about Snow College also. They have a Snow Tech that we're going to talk about briefly, where they're also trying to build with partnerships with local high schools. Do you want to mention a little bit about that, Brad?
Yeah, so that's a really important piece in terms of, competency assessment and, getting the actual hands-on experience. Because we're in a rural area, we've had to be much more, I think, resourceful about getting access to students to these kinds of labs. We spread over 6 counties, and we have 2 campuses of Snow College, and many of our students wouldn't be able to travel to these campuses. So we have a very strong K16 Alliance, which is really a relationship with our superintendents in each of these school districts, and relationships with our principals at these high schools. And these high schools, of course, have space. They have labs, and while we can do a lot of the didactic elements online, when it comes to the actual sort of performance and an assessment on this, we partnered then with either qualified high school teachers or qualified adjunct professors that may come from the local community. So we're developing welding labs. We're also developing mobile labs. So for example, we have a composite manufacturing degree here, and we are building a stackable sort of skill set in composite. But we're building a mobile unit, right? So all of the equipment that might be needed, we would essentially go to one sort of community in high school, say for 6 months, and for them to be able to channel and pipe map their students into this composites program, and then we'd be able to kind of move that around to different communities. So we're looking at a lot of different ways. We acknowledge that's one of the harder components, right? Is the place-based lab component, and we can only do this with partners. And what's great is that we have incredibly supportive superintendents and principals. But we're hoping, and they're supportive not only to provide the lab opportunities for our high school students, but in the off hours, so weekends, evenings, we would have access to those labs for adult learners as well.
Oh, that's great. Let me go back here. There are some questions that looks like that came in during this time. Let me address those. So Becky asked for a little bit more information around the funding structure and some other questions there. So let me address those. So again, what the MyTech High program, we're not a school, we're a program, so we contract with school districts, for example, who want to serve homeschoolers across the state. And we bring those students to that district. That district then begins claiming 100% of that funding from the state for those new students. and then pays us 80% of that to operate the program. And from that 80% is then where we pay for the technology for the students, for the laptops and for the internet and for the curriculum and the local community education resources. So hopefully that answers that question. And regarding the how do we demonstrate mastery of technical skills, really, again, kind of as we mentioned, the students go through the curriculum and then they'll go take industry assessments for that. So we don't deliver those. We deliver them the education they need to then go demonstrate at a local tech college or somewhere at an industry testing center and demonstrate those technical skills as the industry certification requires. So that's how we do that. Let's see, another question came in around biotech. You're right, we don't have any biotech on that category. We would love to add more and more CTE electives as we go, so we're open to continuous development around with industry partners or curriculum. So we would love to chat more about adding biotech CTE electives to our catalog. So we definitely could do that. Another question came in, maybe at a high level, Michael, around customized, personalized education. We really do think that is the future of education. You can customize everything in life, from your phone apps to your browsers to your food. People are tailoring everything in their life, and we think education is also high in demand to personalize to your interests, your needs, your learning styles, and that's from kindergarten through adulthood. So we really believe that is the future of education. Okay, have I hit all those questions for now, Michael?
I could just, yeah, I wanted to just build on that. I think the idea of customizing your education based on your motivation, one of the motivations I think that is particularly salient for advanced manufacturing is career goals. And building on Mary's question about introducing additional electives in biotechnology, the institutes are developing and working with partners to develop and deploy lots of really fantastic curriculum, digital and in person, around these advanced technologies that could advance these career goals for the students. So the question is how that might fit in with MyTech High.
Yeah, there's absolute opportunities there. Yeah, we want to map to what industry needs. We want to match the students' interests and desires with industry. But as we know, many of the students don't even know what industries will exist in the next 3 or 4 years for them to work in. And so we're constantly just trying to produce elective courses that expose them to other things that they might not even have thought about. In fact, even just if you ask many students today, they want to be a YouTube channel host is one of their career decisions, right? And so we try to introduce them on how to create videos and how to create marketing opportunities and think like an entrepreneur. But we also want to do that around manufacturing and biotech and cybersecurity and other things that they might not even realize is a huge demand in industry, and we want to help build those skills to get them there. So great topic. President Cook, did you have something?
Yeah, no, I just really wanted to sort of layer in another dimension here. I'm really impressed with what the Manufacturing and Innovation Institutes have been developing. And my guess is that part of the challenge is, of course, reach. All right, it's about scalability. It's about sort of being able to get to as many students as possible. And I think this is really, we consider Matt and I an ally and a partner to how we might be able to get some of these new technologies, some of these new skill sets, how we help maybe distribute that, right? So especially if there are programs that you think that could be both at the high school level and at the collegiate level, that would be that we could provide some certificates, then let us go to work. Let us figure out how to work with you in terms of making sure that we've got the curriculum in place, the competencies in place. Let us work with our partners then, our existing channels of partners, and how we can help further the agenda of the Institute is something that's top of mind for me.
Awesome. One other question just came in that I want to address, which is if any of you are living in a state in which we are not operating, what do you do first? Where do you start? And really, it might sound like an oversimplified answer, but the answer is just find an innovative superintendent or an innovative chair of a local school board. That's where you start. You just need to have one superintendent who catches the vision, and we can start there and expand across the whole state. So everything we do is already compliant with federal and state laws. So it's really just finding an innovative superintendent or a local board chair that captures this vision, and then we can start running. And we do all the recruitment, all the finding, and all the servicing. So it's pretty low, hands off from the district, as much or as little as they want to be involved. And so that's how you start. All right, let me just highlight Moses before we move on to the Snow College portion specifically, which is he's a 12-year-old who's been in our program. He was selected by Secretary DeVos as a 2020 U.S. Presidential Scholar. That was announced in May. We were really proud of him. He lives in West Valley City and outside of Salt Lake. And he is enrolled in the Mike Tech Guy program through our partnership with Tooele County School District. So just wanted to do a quick shout out to Moses and just express this. He was told by his public school kindergarten principal at the time he was living in Ohio that the K-12 system, he's just a very accelerated, gifted young man. His principal told him in kindergarten that the K-12 system really had nothing to offer him because he was too advanced. And that was kind of discouraging for him. And so they turned to homeschooling. Then they moved to Utah and enrolled in the Mike Tech Guy program and realized that the K-12 system does have something for Moses. We've been able to provide him accelerated access to curriculum and mentors, and a PhD student at the University of Utah has mentored him in science and math, and he got a full ride scholarship to the University of Utah at age 12. And Mike Tech Guy has helped prepare him for that through the curriculum resources and community access that we've been able to provide him. So just a great story of how the K-12 system does have amazing resources, and we just need to find ways to map those to the needs of students. We had this up for a little bit, but just wanted to highlight that we have some really cool things around, cybersecurity. I just want to highlight, we partner with Virginia Tech University to offer a virtual cyber range as part of our cybersecurity fundamentals course. So we have students as young as 13 going through an introductory cybersecurity course, and they're accessing a Virginia Tech hosted cyber range to practice in a safe environment their attacks and defense strategies. And I really think that the DoD and other organizations want to have access to these students who are brilliant and already learning cyber skills at a very young age. So imagine in the next 3 or 4 years if we were to get them cybersecurity certificates through Snow College, industry level certificates that they've mastered and demonstrated at an industry level. These are students that I think any industry would want to hire because they've had experience starting at 13 with cyber ranges and capture the flag activities and things like that. We also are excited around our 3D printing and design and animation courses where they're building things with their hands and they either can buy a 3D printer, or there's lots of services where you can design your 3D asset and submit it online and they'll print it and ship it to you. So that's pretty exciting around that. Again, we have rocketry and computer programming and simple empowered machines down to kindergarten level and up to the higher level around AR and VR and mobile apps and blockchain and Bitcoin. You can just see how interesting these subjects are for these these students. And on the VR point, I wanted to mention I've got a meeting next week with an organization I found that is interested in building VR education around manufacturing skills. And so I'm going to report back to this organization when I learn more about that. Pretty exciting how we can do that with the technology. So, and again, we mentioned already coding boot camps for students who want to enter right in as a junior full stack developer or data analytics. We have all those options available to them. Let me bridge now into snow, but I wanted to highlight Secretary DeVos announced in May or in April a new grant competition to spark student-centered learning opportunities around the recovery with the COVID pandemic, and offered $300 million in funding to state agencies with 2 areas of emphasis, which, interestingly enough, map exactly to what MyTech High and Snow College are already doing around rethinking K-12 education models with microgrants. That's what we do. Statewide virtual learning, that's what we do. New field initiated models for remote education, not yet imagined. I guess we're still trying to imagine the future of what we can do, but we've been doing this for 12 years and are really excited that we already mapped to the vision of our Secretary of Education and are pretty excited about that. And then the second element that was in Secretary DeVos's announcement was reimagining workforce preparation. And that's where really let's move into a deeper dive with President Cook, because Snow College is really doing this well around expanding the short-term post-secondary programs and work-based learning opportunities for students in the stackable credential model, where they can learn in high school things that then can count for college credit, and Snow College is poised to do that well. So with that, why don't you give us some deeper dive into what you're doing, President Cook?
Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so we at Snow College, we really do have kind of all of this range from traditional general education and traditional degrees that transfer. That's on one level, but we also have a Snow Tech, right, which is really a quasi-independent unit under us that is really servicing a completely different kind of student. Really, all these students that may be everything from homeschoolers to working adults to inmates to a variety of different kinds of students who do not see themselves as college goers. Right? And I think a mistake that higher education has made, at least here in the state of Utah for years, is that we've pushed all of these students through the degree hole. Right? That we need to get them a degree, and I think, if they want a degree, terrific, but in our districts, working with our superintendents, up to 70% of our high school graduates do not see themselves as college goers. But they would see, if available, would see themselves as going into a vocational or trade program. And we have to offer those kinds of things, but in ways that are accessible to them, and in ways that can be stacked in terms of micro-credentialing, that can also be stacked into certificates, which then can be stacked into some degrees if that's what they want to do. Often what happens, I know all of us know students like this, that they don't see themselves or have the confidence of going to college, but do get some confidence when they're taking an auto program and realize that, hey, they're good at this, and that they get a little more encouragement, a little more confidence that they can do some higher level work. So to the extent that we can stack these things in some chunkable ways, more and more students are going to find their way to this kind of training. So we've talked a little bit about our online offerings as it relates to this, but what's really important for us, and I think for Matt too, is we are very motivated at closing equity gaps, right? And equity in lots of ways, right? So financial equity, often what happens, a lot of these programs are inaccessible because of cost, They're inaccessible because of distance. They're inaccessible because of, this or that. And we want to make sure that these programs are accessible to our students financially. So our mission, especially as it relates to our accelerated online program, is that we want to really target, to the extent we possibly can, underserved populations, rural communities in particular, not just in Utah, but perhaps throughout rural America. But we need to make sure that the price point is something they can afford. And so we work on very short margins, but the point of being in education isn't, right, to be a profit center. It's to allow people to have access to skills and education that give them more choice in life, which then have an extension of building communities, building families, and especially in rural areas where we have this brain drain phenomenon that goes on, that students or learners have to be in metro areas to get good jobs. We have to figure that out. So we this is our attempt to. So we recently just had about 35 new programs approved by our board of trustees that sort of specifically are geared towards getting our economy here in Utah back on track. Like every other state in the nation, this virus has taken a huge toll on our economy, and so we have really raised our hand to the governor's office, saying, what can we do at Snow College and by using partnerships like MyTech High? How do we get people back to work? How do we get them reskilled? How do we get them upskilled? And so 35 programs are a range of everything from a short, maybe 20-hour training program to something that might be short of a degree. But this has been in coordination with our Department of Workforce Services in the state of Utah. What are those things that they're seeing that are needed? And a lot of them just need upskilling, right? They just need a QuickBooks a badge to help them do something with their business. So we're really trying to have a broad range of programs, and luckily we live in a state where there's a lot of incentives right now through the CARES Act money to try and fund these programs, and I'm sure that each of your states, they have similar programs, and so we're excited about that. One of the questions I saw here, and maybe Matt, that there's also a whole component of charter schooling here that this might have some application to. So one of our questions, can this be a partnership with charters? And you want to talk about that, because Snow College is actually then in application to be a charter authorizer for the state of Utah, so that we can also work with our charters much more directly in their needs, but also seamlessly providing post-secondary training and technical training to these charter high schools as well. So Matt, you want to say a few things about your work with charters?
Yeah, great question there, President. So yes, we have several partnerships with charter schools. So whether it's a district school or a charter school in state, we'll partner with either one, and the same model applies. So they're able to keep 20% of it for oversight and for other investments in their on-campus program. So it is a great model for district schools and for charter schools in any state.
So I also think that there's a great question out there by Emily about, are the things that we're doing at Snow College and MyTech High, Matt, how transferable or serviceable would this be to, say, rural Kentucky, Alabama, northern New Mexico, where these school districts and these families don't have access to these kind of things? How would you answer that particular question? Because it is something you and I have talked a lot about.
Yeah, so the short answer is absolutely great fit. As I mentioned, we are in Tennessee, we're in Arkansas. Again, we're in Utah, which is the lowest funded state of all, and so we've been able to get it to work in Utah. We can make it work anywhere. So that's the short answer. The other thing I'd say, just coming back to what you had mentioned, President Cook, around affordability of the accelerated online, let me just put a dollar amount to that. It is $1,700, $1,743 is the exact tuition price for unlimited credits in a semester, in addition to valuing prior learning. So if you think about that, if someone comes in with a set of skills already and they can demonstrate prior learning, a traditional associate's degree is 60 credits. So let's say they accelerate that with 20 credits already. Now they're down to 40. And let's say they accelerate their path through really hard work in 2 semesters. They could earn an associate degree for $3,400, which is less than any university pricing anywhere in the world, or a country, I should say at least. And so the affordability is something that President Cook and Snow really deliver on. For a unlimited amount of credits for $1,743 a semester, that's unbeatable anywhere that we've seen. So I think that's pretty cool.
Well, and I think one thing too is that we really, quality matters to us, and we were just designated by the Chronicle of Higher Education as the #1 college in America for student success. So there's a high value proposition for our families here. So I think what we're trying to show systemically and for states and others is that we have to get prices down. We have to make sure that it's accessible financially for families. But we also have to make sure that we are confident that they have the competencies to go in and make a difference in their workplace. So this is a dance. This is a fine art that we're trying to get right, and it's not easy. There are a lot of sort of legacy systems, legacy folks who, again, are doubtful, right, that someone can kind of deliver that kind of product for that kind of price. And there are some things that may be beyond our ability to do, but our main motivation is accessibility, affordability, and transferability. So we're hoping, and I really think that unless higher education, traditional higher education, pays attention to these kind of things, they're going to continue to be irrelevant to, I think, industry. Industry is impatient with the slow pace of higher education. And we're starting to see campuses close down all around the country. And the reason is that typically legacy universities and colleges are too slow. They're seen as irrelevant and tone deaf, right, to the actual needs of a lot of our students who are now deciding, listen, I'm not going to go to college. It's a waste of money. There's the cost of time. I'm just gonna either go right to work, and I think it's a real problem that we as a collective in the academy have to really face, and it's not easy because there are a lot of forces that kind of try to keep legacy systems in place. The credit, for example, the Carnegie credit is one of these things that was created to really around how do we pay teachers, right? It's a seat time sort of thing as opposed to sort of measuring and understanding competency. And my sense is that eventually the Carnegie credit will go away of the dodo bird as well. But it's certainly entrenched at the moment. So we actually offer both so that we know that as the student takes their competency-based program, that once they complete their program, that then translates into credits, right? That they then can transfer, so that it's a Snow College credit, which is a regionally accredited institution. It doesn't impede those students from, if they want to do a 4-year degree or a master's degree somewhere that credit will transfer under a Snow College credit.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to put another fine point on that, which is President Trump last week announced an executive order around federal job hiring not being degree-based, but being skills-based. And that's really innovative, and really excited to see the federal government taking a leadership position around skills-based hiring. So very interested to see where that goes. And again, Snow is poised very well for embracing that type of vision. So just wanted to call that out as something that's real time right now happening in our country.
Well, one of the questions I'm seeing here, Matt, is really about the connectivity of some of our families in rural areas. Do you want to talk about that? I can say a little bit about our area. Again, I think we're a bit privileged. Rural Utah has access to great sort of backbone and internet. And then those families that don't, they have access to, through what we call concurrent enrollment, through labs at the local high schools that are fully connected. But I think Eileen's question is a good one about the maybe imbalance, right, of connectivity around rural communities around the country.
A couple things I'll say on that. Number one is that we also embrace book-based education. So in just a macro level, that is something that many of our families, like even if they have access to the internet, they want to diminish screen time or whatever, and so we'll send them a box of textbooks or literature books or things like that. So there is learning that occurs offline in an online program, which sometimes sounds contradicting, but it definitely addresses that. But then also I wanted to point out that when we work with Snow College to build this accelerated online associate degree, accessibility to the internet and lack of accessibility to the internet was a key design principle. And so we're pleased to share that the full curriculum can all be done on a mobile device. And so even to the point of where if there's at least cell phone coverage, they're able to access the full associate degree. And that's today, and we've talked to Snow in the future. We want to get to a point where there's an offline and sync online model around a competency-based associate degree. And this particularly came up in a meeting with a prison warden in Utah who wanted to be able to offer cell-centered associate degree programs without the internet, and then go plug in at night the machine and syncs it with the teachers for the grades and those kinds of things. So step one today is it's all mobile friendly, so at least if they have cell phone coverage, they could do the associate degree. And number two, book-based education for the K-12 is still a great option. And then they connect when they can with their teachers through phone or email when they have access. And then third, this future vision of offline, online syncing for areas where there is not internet access, even like we've looked at military naval ships where they want to do some education while they're out at sea and then sync it when they're in port is a model that we've also put on that future roadmap. So hopefully that addresses that topic. Michael, do you have any others that we should focus on before I guess this is the final slide where we want to just kind of announce that we have collectively between MyPick High and Snow College access to thousands of parents and students who value learning, and we have access to great curriculum, personalized education platform, degrees and training, certification. So it's really like, how can we help this organization with your tech and talent development initiatives? So, Michael, what else would you like us to answer?
Yeah, so first of all, I've really been enjoying the conversation. I mean, you guys are putting into practice the power of all of these principles progressive and modern education, taking advantage of the technology and the tools, recognizing that digital education is a great force for equity, but that it's not perfect, and that you need to take bandwidth into account and come up with innovative solutions like mobile access and offline thinking on the roadmap, which is just fantastic and certainly a topic that we're very interested to hear. And the power of competency-based advances, right, and the value proposition that you put all of those things together, and the value proposition that you laid out with Stone, well, really with both programs, and we're starting to see some of the big legacy systems that move slowly starting to shift towards this. So first of all, it's just very, very cool to see the potential in action with you guys. I wanted to highlight a couple of questions. One from Becky Lewis about how the competency-based assessment for prior learning takes place, whether that, and I guess this would go to both of you at Tech High and at Snow College, whether that's a high-stakes test or whether there are other ways of making that assessment. And there's actually another follow-up there to bring it back to the theme of connectivity and transferability. And so there's sort of challenges recognizing those skills going in and then recognizing those skills going out as well.
Let me start with that, and then Matt, you can weigh in. So what we do in terms of our prior learning assessment is we do really both portfolio reviews. So in other words, of course, a student will say, listen, I think I've got accounting skills that we'd like, that might qualify for, credit. We would essentially have them take a course which helps them put together a portfolio, assesses that, and then we essentially can give them, give them accounting credit as it aligns with our particular course. In many cases, though, we may not have a course that aligns, but we do think that those skills, as packaged, demonstrate competency for elective credit. So we have it kind of both ways. The portfolio is a powerful one. We've tried to streamline this so that it's a much quicker, much more sort of responsive as we work with our faculty and other experts to help look at those outcomes. And but it is one of those things that we're going to continue to work on because it's something that higher education is not great at. They've been trying to crack this nut forever. And the good thing is that we're nimble enough and we're small enough here at Snow College that we can move on these sorts of things, and a faculty that's really wanting to be able to give students credit where they feel they can.
Yeah, I agree. I would just add that, Becky, you pointed out two things. One is the portfolio review that President Cook has mentioned. The other is, separate from that, is as Snow is regionally accredited and they have articulation agreements published and with all the key universities, the direct course and credit alignment also helps, right? So they can bring to the table exact courses from other universities, and those automatically get the credit. And then on top of that, they can demonstrate prior learning through presenting their portfolio of work. So it's really all of the above, Becky. Great question. What else can we do for this organization, right? We're honored to have been invited here. We want to be a resource to your state-driven initiatives around building up a pipeline of students that are CTE passionate and ready and with skills that they've been developing for years, and then through certifications and degrees through Snow College. We really are here to help with your state initiatives. So we'd love to do whatever we can to help.
So on that point, I mean, I see a ton of potential here, of course, and very, very, very pleased to be talking with you guys. and I guess I see them on two dimensions. One being the possibility of bringing some of the content and learning resources from the institutes in the technology areas that they're focused on, manufacturing, that might be a benefit to your portfolio of offerings and help advance the mission of disseminating these technologies and growing skilled technical workforce for advanced manufacturing. And then the other dimension, of course, would be obviously the programs that you guys offer are very compelling and may come into play in some of the initiatives that the institutes are engaged with in their local communities and in their states. So those are the two sides of that, and I just want to sort of recognize those and give you guys a chance to. I think we've to I guess respond on that first point of I think these would likely be elective credit course type offerings, and obviously there's a detail to look into and start getting into specifics. I'm curious for your thoughts on your appetite and interest, I guess, for these programs of study or courses in these advanced technology areas.
Matt, did you hear that? So Michael, on my end, you kind of were breaking up just a little bit, so I'm sorry.
Sorry, we had problems with my microphone. The question was, can you guys hear me on your end now? Yeah. The question was primarily focused on what the course catalog that you guys are offering now, and what your sort of level of interest in and process for integrating additional course content, of course, specifically focused in advanced manufacturing and digital technology areas, industrial technology.
No, we welcome this. This is terrific, especially with your institutes. I'm sure they already have the kind of skill sets, very specific skill sets that they're looking for, if in partnership we could develop the curriculum with content experts at the institutes, if that's something that we can help, we can then essentially work with our instructional designers to get that curriculum that's consumable then through an online format. If it does have a lab component, then let us go to work in partnering with partners that make sense, and whether these are military bases, whether these are high schools or districts, and in some cases we can have partners with just industry. We've got a great partner here locally that's a composite manufacturing entity, and they would love to be a partner in this as well. So I would say that we'll take any and all that seem to be in need out there, and then let us think about how we can convert that into a competency-based, self-paced program, and help these guys get everything from a badge to a license to a certificate to a degree even. So this is what we're here for. We only have so much expertise on any given campus, so the fact that we could essentially partner with the institutes expands, I think, our expertise reach, and how we can make that accessible to learners we really are open and hoping that you'll take advantage of that offer from both Matt and I.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing to that, and that is that MyTech High has always embraced this philosophy that education happens in many places outside of a traditional setting. And that's what makes us so excited to partner with Snow College, is they're a higher ed institution that also believes that education happens outside of their walls. And so they're very interested in partnering with local institutes or industry that have curriculum already. There's no need to have Snow reinvent that. Have that curriculum be reviewed and brought in, and the Board of Trustees has approved Snow for a variety of certificates already, and so let's stamp that curriculum and just run with what the industry has already built. So it's a pretty innovative approach, really, if you think about it, but it makes total sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think
to get on this
very
and
much
ask some
aligned
questions.
with our interests here. I'm going to just add on one quick thing, and I'll turn it over to Greg to bring in some additional questions. Just on some of the details, we do have some completed course offerings. We are starting an Open edX independent learning platform, and there may be opportunity for integration there. And there's another topic on industry credentialing that I'd like to get to, but I want to turn it over to Greg.
Thanks, Michael, and I wanted to get into some issues about the path that you followed to set up these things. I noted that anytime people do something that's really different or innovative, it perturbs something. It pulls funding from one place to another. People are not in the same roles that they used to be, and this is just a kind of friction that happens. And so my question is, what challenges have you faced in interfacing with the schools and the institutions that you work with in order to bring about this change? How did that friction play out, and how did you handle the tensions that are inevitably created by doing something different?
Yeah, Matt, you want to talk about the kind of K-12 space, because that's kind of where you started, and you had a lot of kind of battles on that front, and then I can talk about the higher education resistance.
Yeah, great point, Greg. I would say, and I invited one of our school partners from Twilla, who I noticed is on the participant list, and really it takes a innovative superintendent to kind of say, we're going to do this, and get the support of their board to do that, because you're right, there are people that believe the traditional education model is something to protect, and they want to really battle against innovation and something that's different and new. And so yes, we've had plenty of conversations. Really, we took the approach of, we want to make sure that everything we do is compliant with all board rules and state regulations. And so compliance has been something we've been very focused on from the beginning. And really, how can you innovate within the existing structure? And so that was the approach that we took, was to do that. And that's really been what's allowed us to have been doing this for so long, is that we have embraced that from the beginning, acknowledging that there are reasons for compliance and traditional systems, but then try to see what within the system can we do to tweak it so that we can serve students in a different way. And so it's really been a lot of just conversation with State Office of Education officials, with district officials, with really just trying to work all those things out so that we meet the needs of both the families and the system at large.
Yeah, on the higher ed space, there resistance on a couple of levels. One is, I think, when you have a growing state like Utah, really, universities and colleges haven't really had to think all that innovatively. Students are coming, they're rolling out of bed, they're coming to college. But what we've seen, though, in my administration here is, especially in a rural place, is that traditional population is going to decline. And so over the next few years, and that's actually going to be a national trend. It's already happening, in the Northwest and in other places in the country. And Utah will essentially follow that trend. So how do you get at the horizon and beyond the horizon and look down the road there? So let me give you some statistics that are actually quite stunning to me that really kind of shook me. One is that we have about 3 million traditional age college students in America in a given year. and they'll come in and out of different kinds of private and public institutions. But there are close to 80 million adults that don't have any college. That is the bigger challenge, especially for places like ours. We have to get to those professionals. Now, so when we're making that argument about innovation, and we're very careful about how we couch this, that we really are trying to get at additional populations of students that don't compete with our existing kind of institutions, or even with ourselves, right? I mean, coming in with these types of ideas, the real worry is, are we essentially competing with ourselves? Are we putting ourselves out of business? For example, if we're offering, college level credit to high schoolers, then why would they come to Snow College? But I think that's a really kind of a zero-sum mentality. What we know is that as we provide more opportunities for students, there's still so many more that aren't being served. And so so luckily the resistance has been one of are you sort of disrupting sort of the traditional model? And the answer is yes. But we're also getting to the needs and making sort of data-informed presentations to legislators, to Board of Regents, Board of Trustees members, and they're actually quite supportive. I think they get it. So we are also making sure that we're staying affordable, as we said before. That's often and then we're paying attention that getting to their worries that, well, can you actually deliver a quality product at that price? And so we're paying attention to accrediting standards and any other standards. My sense is that there's a lot of opportunity for innovation. I just think some higher education institutions just haven't had the existential threat yet, and I don't want to get there. I don't want to have to be going, declining enrollments and have fiscal problems. Let's get ahead of it because there's plenty of folks who need it, and actually, if we're making a case about national defense, or making a case about stronger communities, we're making a case about stronger choice among families. We've had a lot of support, everything from the governor's office on down, and so luckily we've at this point we haven't had a lot of roadblocks other than people just wondering, well, can you pull it off? And we're pulling it off so far, and we're working through the harder parts are past us. The curriculum construction, right? The instructional design. How are we designing these courses that the assessments, the assessments are appropriate, and that's an ongoing art form. But I think we're gaining people's confidence as we go. So our hope is that it's an opportunity that just can't be denied. And everything from the President of the United States to the Secretary of Education to local legislators, vocational and technical education matters. And that's not been the narrative until recently. And so there are opportunities here that as we partner with your institutes, with other kinds of entities that care about these things, we're going to be much stronger at getting ourselves in grant funding positions and state support than I think traditional institutions that continue to focus on just strict liberal arts and maybe some of the higher level professional degrees, which are important too. They have their place, but I don't think where the real needs are being addressed yet. And I'm hoping that we're kind of on the front end of that with like-minded institutions in the future.
Could I just follow up on something you touched upon here? And I'm very interested in this idea of instructional design. I mean, you know, in my work life, I'm spending a lot of time, you know, on Zoom, on sessions like this, meetings and such, and it's better than just talking on the phone all the time. But it's a low level of sensory stimulation, especially for, you know, kids that have Xbox and everything. And so I'm thinking about the issue of instructional design, how to make this type of environment work better for students. I'm picking up on a question that Becky Lewis asked. She asks, in order to master technical skills, how is this captured via online coursework? Do you have simulation, virtual skill competency assessment? Is it what I've heard referred to as Hollywood Squares plus PowerPoint, or do you have richer visualizations that you're able to offer?
Yeah, I'll talk about, in our K-12 course development, we have really focused a lot on this principle of project-based curriculum, where you teach a little bit and then you have the students go build stuff. And so we have, in many of our programming courses, they'll do some activities online, and then the instructions are to go build an equivalent version with cardboard and paper on your kitchen table to kind of connect the offline, online learning experiences. So that's one example that we do. The other thing, we actually use Minecraft as one of our teaching platforms for engineering and entrepreneurship. We have where they build their own store inside of Minecraft, and like their own ice cream shop. And so we try to integrate principles of entrepreneurship, programming, coding, those types of things into platforms that they're familiar with and are engaged with. So those are just a couple examples that we really try to focus on project-based learning. And one of the higher strategies is we have everyone create an innovation journal, and where they, you know, either online or offline, and as they go through it, even several of our courses start with, you've been hired as the CEO of this company. Here is now your tasks that you need to deal with. And even setting up just that high-level framework of learning creates engagement in a way that just going through textbooks or slides doesn't. So that's how we address that, Greg.
I would say on our end, you know, to the extent that we have our partnerships have these place-based labs, so that so whatever didactic elements can be constructed for the instructional design, so theory, that sort of thing, and incidentally, these are all kind of these are open resource, open educational resources, OER. So we want to make sure, to the extent possible, that textbooks are not a cost factor for our students. But let's take a program that we're building right now called Power Sports, which is really a small engine program that, in an area like this where there are a lot of recreational vehicles, there are a lot of shops that need these kind of skills. So we essentially will have these labs, mobile labs, where what they finish in terms of the theory and perhaps the science behind those that field, they then have to go and demonstrate and work with a lab facilitator in demonstrating their you know, what they've learned. So it's a blended thing as much as possible. But Greg, it's a really good point. I think we all are a little worried about the unintended consequences of online learning and Zoom. You know, all of that in terms of emotional, you know, we have to deal a lot with the emotional health and mental well-being of our students. And I'm seeing as someone who has, 5,000 traditional students here, it is a real issue that and online, mobile, and technology is not helping when it comes to these, because we're social creatures. So it's going to be hard to get right. And I think for some people it works one way, for some others. So my sense is that that to the extent that they can have a blended element, they can have strong chat opportunities online, that they actually get their hands a little dirty. I think that's ideal. But in some cases, you know, a purely online deliverable is the only thing, say, you know, an adult, a single parent in Wayne County, Utah, and they can only get at this education that from 9 at night to 11:30. It's the best they can do. So I think that the trick really is being diversified in the offerings to try and meet as to provide the best education we can in the best ways we can to as many people that we can. That's the art form I think we're trying to do.
That's really fantastic, and it's a real challenge, right? To bring that interactive, hands-on, and practical element, like finding some innovative ways to do that. There's some things that institutes are utilizing simulations that then have direct physical parallels with digital twins in some cases, in other cases in technical training, like in the Ignite program, which utilizes some Amatrol content. There's a simulation of a system, and you can assemble that, and it's interactive, and then there's hands-on elements as well. And if you have access to both, that's great, but you get as much as you can get access to. So I want to parlay this and pick up on something that President Cook, you were touching on, which are the social skills, soft skills, and pick up a question from the chat on whether that is an area of focus for you guys and how you're addressing the needs. This is something that we see in our work across the Institute, the need for the common employability skills, teamwork, social skills, and how are you able to deliver that through these innovative delivery approaches?
Yeah, I think we're better in some of our areas than others. I mean, because in some cases, like our employers for coders and programmers, what they're looking for immediately right now is they want production-ready engineers. Right? They want people, you know, forget about the general ed, forget about the soft skill training. We just want people with the hard skills. So we can provide that, and we'll work with partners that do this. But I think one added value that a college can provide then, you know, is, because I think what we'll find from we have a group called Silicon Slopes here in Utah. It's really like Silicon Valley. It's a very high-tech, concentrated high-tech group of companies along what we call the Wasatch Front. But they want production-ready engineers. And so we're providing those, but we also may have on offer, right, courses that relate to interpersonal communication, you know, leadership sort of training, other kinds of things. So we're providing what's on offer, but sometimes employers just want the hard skills, and in some cases students just want a certificate. So, you know, we're delivering that and trying to weave into the curriculum where possible the human elements of the interface of this. I'm not sure we've got this exactly right, especially from our hard skill programs just yet, because it typically adds more hours. It typically adds more, you know, expectation to students who you know really want to just get their license, get the certificate, qualification, and move right into the workspace. Some of our programs, though, especially some of our certificates and our associate programs, we have built-in required courses that students take. But so yeah, I think it's a real problem. I think for especially these kind of short-term programs, just because it adds more hours and more expectations, but need it all nevertheless, and hoping that they'll, you know, be able to come back and feel like they can come back to Snow College and get additional training in that regard as well.
Hey, Michael, let me just add something.
That's an area for an argument for the responsiveness here, right, and continuous learning, where maybe the immediate need is in the hard skills, and the soft skills come later.
I just wanted to add that I agree 100% with the question that was posted there, and the second question is what I've often been asking is, if so, how are they assessed? Whenever I meet with industry leaders, I ask them, what soft skill demonstrations do you want from our graduates? And it's not an easy answer for anyone to provide. And so if there is a standard, or if there's any way to have someone build a portfolio that demonstrates I have teamwork skills and collaboration skills and communication skills, those soft skills that all of us know are valuable, I'm very open to any insights into how industry or leaders want us to demonstrate that our graduates have those soft skills. And I'm more than willing to partner with anyone to help us do that.
Yeah, it's a real challenge, and we know that one way that industry really recognizes those soft skills is through work-based learning and the connectivity between students and industry, right? That it's very hard to assess in a traditional fashion, but you can demonstrate your practical skills and your ability to work on a team if you have that direct engagement with
internships or apprenticeships, or that's why we do try to build relationships there, because that's the best we've seen today is if you can just work with one of our students who's 17 or 18, you'll love them, and so give them a chance, and so that's really our only answer today is work with them and you evaluate their soft skills. But if there's any ideas from this group or other organizations on how to best do that, we're wide open to that. We'd love it.
Great, and I think that's actually another area for potential collaboration down the road. The institutes really sit at the intersection of industry, academia, and government involvement there, and that creates a lot of opportunities for that connectivity between all of those facets that can help create those internship and apprenticeship and direct engagement between the students and employers. Well, we were at our time, I believe. I have more questions going, but I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Thank you both so much, and Dr. Cook, for joining us. I've really enjoyed the discussion today. Thank you, Greg, and everyone for putting this all together. I think it's been a fantastic opportunity. I've had a couple people reach out during the briefing here, or the discussion, saying that they're really glad we have a recording of this so that we can share with some of our colleagues and some of the other defense education-related communities. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this conversation and to continuing to engage with you guys and partner going forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael, Greg, and Emily. Thank you so much for organizing this. And we look forward to helping the institutes and others achieve their agendas.
Ditto.
Absolutely. I want to thank Patrick for helping facilitate all of this, and I want to emphasize the thank you to Emily for putting this all together and connecting us all and making this happen.
Great.